City and country. I'm in Kansas City, obviously. I'm in a suburb of Kansas City called Olathe, which is on the kind of southwest end of the city. We have a beautiful day today. It's sunny and mild. It's going to be a nice weekend for a change. Excellent. I see Rossmore, California, Durham, North Carolina. Excellent. Nigeria, Spokane. Oh, Shiny, Kansas. Someone in my neck of the woods. Hi, Anthony. Windsor Locks, Connecticut. Wow, Maldives. That's great. Sinaj. Texas. India. Good deal. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to mute everybody so that there's no, you can unmute yourself. We have questions coming up, but let's stay muted for now. And let's go ahead and get started. This here. Get my screen situated so I can see what's going on. Awesome. Well, this here where I can move my screen. Hang on a second. No, I don't want to do that. Okay, perfect. So thanks again for joining me for the free career seeker webinar, Overcoming Rejection in Your Career Search and Winning. We're going to spend really a lot of time on the mindset part, overcoming the rejection side, and also giving you some tactics and strategies with which to be successful. So can everyone hear me okay? If you can, please type yes in the chat box. Excellent. I see some yeses coming through. Beautiful. So I want to make sure it's all clear. I'm going to be trying to monitor the chat as we talk. So if there are any type of video or audio issues, please let me know. Thank you. So what to expect? So it's kind of all about why you're here. You could be a longer-term career seeker lacking results, looking for maybe some answers on how to do things differently, do things better. Also, you might be fresh on the job market and you want to sharpen your skills. I've heard that a lot lately with folks who have reached out to me and said, hey, Greg, things are going just fine. And then COVID finally impacted my company and I'm on the street and I need to find something. I need to go quickly. So those are some of the things. If there's anything else, let me know. What I really want to know from you is type in the comments, what is your biggest pain point in your job search? Is it your resume? You feel like it's just not coming together right? Is it your career strategy? You're not sure who to target, or you're not sure where to apply, or just kind of how to go about it and structure things? Is it your interviewing? You're getting to interviews and things aren't coming together. You know it's not going well, or you're just not getting offers? Is it a mindset issue where you just can't seem to get over the hump of, I hate this sucks, and I know I need to have a better attitude, but I can't do it? Or is it networking? So see some things. So interviewing, lots of interviews, a target company, few interviews. Okay, so not getting to the interview stage. Motivation and attitude. Yep, that's very understandable. Not mindset again. Not sure what I should apply for. Excellent. Okay. Perfect. So we're going to go through some of these things today. Lack of experience. Okay. So what to expect out of our time together today, whether it's this morning or afternoon or evening for you. First of all, we're going to leave you with an action plan to embolden your mindset, to help you get you where you want to be, and also, most importantly, land those interviews and offers that may have been elusive for you. So the process today, like I mentioned, we're going to keep everybody muted until Q&A section. If you do have a question, go ahead and type capital Q, colon, and whatever the question is, and I'll be trying to monitor that. After we get through certain areas, I'll pause for some questions, and I'll probably unmute and open it up so we can have a little bit more of a live discussion. Since we don't have as a huge group, it won't be overwhelming to do that. At the end, I have a content survey I would love for you to take. It only is going to take you a few minutes. I'll share the link when we get to the end, just to tell me what you want out of my content and how I can help you the best. There's also be some opportunities to take it to the next level if you're interested. I have a book out. I do some resume reviews and writing, and I do some coaching as well through Career Jetpack. So those are some things we'll cover at the end. So today, as I mentioned, we're going to spend a lot of time. It is a webinar about overcoming rejection. So we're going to talk a lot about your mindset, how to get your head straight. You can have the best qualifications in the world and still not be successful because your mindset isn't right and you self-sabotage in the interview or some other reason. We're going to talk about strategy. What is your action plan? How to kind of structure your day and how to go about it in a balanced kind of way so it makes sense. It's not just, hitting the grindstone nonstop and burning out on the job search process. And then we're going to do some resume interview overview, as well as a few other things. We'll hit some networking. We'll talk about LinkedIn and so forth. So I like to start out with something funny. So I've got a couple crazy but true stories that we'll start out with, just kind of lighten the mood and keep it going. Love that picture, by the way. So there was a very nervous gentleman who was invited for an interview. And it was a panel style interview, which if you've been in those situations, they can be more intimidating. And he was nervous to begin with. And so he did not respond very well to the situation. He was so nervous that it was uncomfortable for everybody. It was kind of embarrassing for all the folks concerned. So he, at the end of the interview, got up to leave, went to the door, went to the wrong door, which was actually a storage closet. And so the panel kind of looked at each other and wondering what's going to happen, waiting for him to come out. And a few minutes passed, and he never emerged from the closet. So finally, one of the panel members went in there and found this guy literally trying to escape out the window because he was so mortified. He took the wrong door. He didn't want to face them again. So it's crazy. Another funny story. I hope this hasn't happened to you and never happens to you. But there was a woman going to an interview. It was in a healthcare facility, and she'd gotten there plenty early. Went to, needed to use a restroom. Good time, get that out of the way before you jump into an interview. It was one of those like disabled person restrooms. So they have one of those emergency cords if something were to happen. People could come running to help and that kind of thing. And I think this was in the UK where they have, not just the levers, but sometimes they have the strings to pull to flush the toilet. Well, you guessed it, she pulled the wrong one. And as you can imagine, all these people came rushing immediately to her aid, alarms going off, and they're coming in to help her and so forth. Absolutely mortified, worst day of her life. That's some of the crazy things that you just, you can't make up. So a little bit about me. If you don't know me very well, I don't know how long you all have been following me on LinkedIn or have kind of looked through my profile, but just want to share with you sort of my background. I have 11 years experience in recruiting, 25 years overall in business. And during that time, I have read over 10,000 resumes and reviewed that many job applicants. So a lot of experience in that area. I've placed thousands of candidates in numerous roles from frontline workers to CFO and controller and IT and healthcare and pharmaceutical scientists and you name it. I'm also author of Stellar Resume Writing, Secrets from a Corporate Recruiter, that came out a couple years ago. And I've given a lot of talks like this, and I really enjoy getting the opportunity to reach out to folks and to help them in that kind of way. So here's another true story. It's probably a little bit more common, and I want to share this with you. So here's Mark. And Mark was an accounting manager, assistant controller, and he was looking to, upgrade his career and move up into the next level. Well, he saw a job for a financial controller, and it was for a rival coffee manufacturing company. So he thought, ideal. This is perfect. It's not just manufacturing, but I'm in the exact same industry. I know this business. What a great fit. So he did everything that, you would expect for him to do. He, applied online. He picked up the phone. He rang the HR manager, all those proactive things that you should do to really get noticed. And so he applied and waited and waited. 6 weeks go by after this. And he thought, he just kind of given up. Thought, okay, well, maybe they filled it or something else happened. So that should have been kind of a red flag at that point. If that happened, yeah, sometimes things happen in the background, right? With companies, if you don't know, sometimes and we'll talk about that in a minute, but still 6 weeks is a really long time to pick back up and say, hey, by the way, we would like to interview. It's not a good, really a good view from the company. And you should be a little bit concerned that something may not be right. Well, they did call him after 6 weeks. They brought him in for an interview, and he met with the HR manager and the CFO, who he would report to, and they had a fantastic interview. Went for over an hour and shared, and everything went well. And they said, hey, we'll get back to you. Well, guess what? 2 days later, they did get back to him, and they said, we would like for you to meet the CEO. So wonderful. He's excited. He says, yes, this is it. I'm getting to the final stage. This is moving along quickly. And the CEO even delayed an international flight that he was going to take so that he could sit down and talk with this candidate. So the interview went really well with Mark. Over an hour again. They talked about experience and what he likes to do and the challenges in the role and where he wants to take the business. Things are going really fantastic. And after they got done with the interview, the CEO said, okay, we'll get back to you. Well, 2 weeks went by, and he called up the HR manager. Hey, just checking in, seeing if anything has happened. Do you have any feedback on the interview I had with the CEO? And she said, hey, nothing right now. We'll get back to you. Well, guess what? That was 16 months ago. It took, and they never, ever got back to him. So go ahead and type in the chat. What did Mark do wrong, if anything? No one's typing, so I hope you all just say yes if you can still hear me. Okay, here we go. He didn't follow up after the last interview. No idea. Really, thank you for answering, guys. Really, he didn't do anything wrong. And what's the point of my story? You can still do everything right and be a fantastic fit and still not get the job. And I know you may be thinking, well, thanks, Greg. That doesn't really lift my spirits. That doesn't help me. So why do I tell you this story? I tell you the story because you can, like I said, you didn't get the job, and it may have nothing to do with you. Sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with you. Sure, there's some things. You can screw up the interview. You can forget to follow up with a thank you email and those types of things. But there's so many things. And this is why I want to encourage you, because there's so many things that happen in the background that have absolutely nothing to do with you. And you didn't get the job, but you were not rejected. You were redirected, even if you were rejected, but it could be a number of things. So what are some of the things that can happen in the background? And these things happen, and this is from my experience as a corporate recruiter as well as what's happened just in general. So they hired someone internally. And probably the recruiter or the HR manager got stuck in other projects. They hired their person and they completely forgot or didn't think to send a thank you email or just, hey, the job's closed email. So they may have the position lost funding. This happens. Sometimes there's a shift in the company and no longer do they have the money to run that. Again, they should send an email saying, hey, this position is closed. The hiring manager quit or was fired. And this happens. Thank you, Samson. Redirected instead of rejected, and that's the truth. The hiring manager in one of the positions, we had gotten to the offer stage, and I called up this mechanical engineer and said, hey, we're getting ready to send you an offer, so keep an eye on your email. And then the next day, I hear that the hiring manager quit. We're like, what do we do now? And so they didn't know. VP didn't know. And eventually we lost the candidate because by the time we got it together, he had moved on, and understandably so, and I'm glad that he did find something. The position is posted just in case, like an employee quits or was fired. So it's like the succession. Oh, we're worried about this. Go ahead and post the job and put it out there, and it just sits and collects people. and you end up, thinking it's real. And I don't agree with this tactic at all. I think it should only be a real approved budgeted position. I'm not into this whole pipelining thing, because if you're a good recruiter, you can go and find people pretty quickly. But unfortunately, that's corporate mentality at times. Another true story, owner's cousin suddenly returned to town, so they hired him instead, even though they may have already got someone close to or at the offer stage. A few other things. The interview just couldn't understand your value for whatever reason. Maybe they don't understand themselves. They sound funny, but they're human too. And if they're not sure about themselves, maybe they get caught up in their own head. Maybe something happened, didn't go very well last time for them, or their own insecurities. Maybe, oh, this person's so good, they may outshine me, and they may pass. Or they just don't know how to evaluate candidates. And they go make an emotional decision rather than a rational decision, and end up hiring the wrong person. Sometimes the job is given away before you got there. They already know who they want. They go through the interviews, sometimes just because, hey, we've already set it up, or they do it sometimes because they want to have a backup plan in case plan A doesn't work. So those are some of the things, right? What are the natural consequences as a career seeker, job seeker going through this? How does it affect you? How does it feel to be ghosted? It doesn't feel good. And you're really left just hanging. Why? What happened? Why did they not choose me even though I was a great candidate? And you can even ask the recruiter or hiring manager. Very rare occasions do you get actual feedback. I try to do that as best that I can. When we don't choose a candidate, they say, hey, do you have some feedback? But the reason you don't get feedback are, one, people don't want confrontation. They don't know how to handle the situation. They don't have the emotional maturity. And secondly, quite frankly, it's a liability. There's a lot of recruiters who are instructed by their leadership not to give any answers, certainly not in writing, because they're so worried about a lawsuit. And so when they come back and sue them. So unfortunately, that's the situation. It is what it is. Nobody likes it, but now that you're aware of it, there's some things that you can do to protect yourself. So let's talk about that. So it really starts with the proper mindset, and it starts with self-love, self-confidence, and believing in yourself. Okay. You can be strong, you can have an amazing background and still face rejection, especially during a pandemic. The right attitude can overcome a lot of other things that may be going on. So this idea of really believing in yourself, knowing that you're good, and that, you know what, I wasn't rejected, I was redirected. There's something else that's better for me. Or, you know what, they just don't deserve me because they don't see my value. I know I'm good. And I'll go to someone who's going to appreciate what I bring to the table. And so critical to success. So I want to share another story with you. This was many years ago. I was really first out of grad school. It was my first job out of graduate school, and I was leading a small team for a polling and consulting company in Denver, Colorado. And there's this young guy, Keith, and he had moved from New York to Denver on a whim. He's kind of a young kind of thing to do, and he was a pretty zany guy, a little inappropriate at times, but very likable. And he and his friend just decided to go. And he ended up working for me in that small kind of firm in downtown Denver. And things were going well for a while. And he was a good worker, even though we had to redirect him a few times just from his behavior. But he really wanted something bigger and better. And that company wasn't going to give that to him. There's really no growth there. So he applied for Quest. And Quest was a really fast-rising, very successful, short-lived successful telecom company. But they were huge. They were big in Denver, and they were literally across the street from our building. And I couldn't even get an interview with these guys. I was interested in them as well because I knew that the company I was with probably wasn't going to really go where I wanted it to go for my career. I wasn't even sure at that point because I had changed careers so dramatically. I was going into academia, and now I'm in business. I don't know what really I'm doing, which was part of the problem. He goes in there and got an interview, and he knocked it out of the park. He had less education than me. He had less experience and easily got the job. Why? His confidence and self-belief were really carried him through the interview and into the job. And clearly he was capable of doing the job because he got in and he did well, but so was I. But he was so confident and determined to convince the interviewer that he was the right person for the job. And I think in his specific case, because he was a New Yorker, I think that because of the culture there's so many people and it's intense, and to get noticed and to get somewhere, you kind of have to be confident in yourself and you need to be kind of aggressive. And he had that sort of mentality, but it wasn't so strong that it turned you off. Obviously, it worked out well for him. So what I want to share with you, that first of all, you are enough. When you have that self-doubt and you're kind of lacking confidence, trust me, you are enough. You may need to strategize and redirect your search, but you're definitely enough. And after rejections, maybe it's 1, maybe it's 5, maybe it's 500. I don't care who you are. It erodes your confidence. So you must start each day with affirmations and relive your accomplishments and the kudos that you've received over the years. And remember how valuable you really are. What you feed your mind is incredibly critical. It sets the tone for the day. And if you know anything about brain structure, let's quickly say the reticular activating system in your brain is made to filter out anything that's non-essential. So if you're thinking that you're just programming your mind every day, if you're thinking, this sucks, I'm not going to get a job, your brain is going to start looking for those in your environment. It's going to filter out the good and focus on that. So you want to flip that script. Focus on, yes, I can be successful. I will be. I'm going to have a productive day. May not get a job today, but I'm going to make progress. So one of the things, I know this is going to sound silly, I know it's touchy-feely, but it works. I've done it myself, is you look yourself in the mirror in the morning and you say, I am enough. And mean it. I am enough. And say it until you believe it. Every morning and then every night before you go to bed. And it's a subconscious program because your subconscious mind really drives so much of what you do. And I don't have time to get into all those types of mechanisms, but trust me, it works. Okay, so what is your greatness? Now, I want you to, if you haven't done this, I'm sorry, I meant to tell you at the beginning, is grabbing either a sheet of paper, a notepad, or you can jot it down on your computer. Wherever you like to take notes, go ahead and grab that now. I'll give you just a few moments to do that if you haven't already. So what I want you to do is write down what are your best traits and attributes. I'm not talking about your experience, skills, and abilities. We'll get to that in a second. But what are your best traits and attributes? Why do people like you? You're a great team player. You are a great listener. You have empathy. You know how to solve problems. You build great rapport. Whatever those things are, your personal traits and attributes. You're extremely organized. You know how to take a plan and make it work. Those are some of the things. I want you to write those down and keep them. And then what are some of your best skills and abilities? Now this gets to, hey, I am a great project manager. I know how to use MS Project, or I'm a great salesperson and I know how to close. I'm a great closer and that's why I do really well. Whatever it is that fits within your world. So what I'd like for you all to do real quickly is, if you want, you can type in the comments. One of it can be a trait and an attribute or skill and ability, something that you're very good at. Go ahead and type that into the chat now. And if you'd like, please share that with the group. Great. Eugene, diplomatic. Copywriting, editing, fantastic. And diplomacy is really good, especially in business. I've dealt with people who are very undiplomatic, and they actually came to me for help after a while when they realized how scathing they were getting feedback on. Breaking down complex things into simpler terms, empathetic, great, Melissa. Problem solving, fantastic. Justin, networking and communication. Monty, standing up for the truth, fantastic. Creativity, Coach Mai. Gabriella, listening, very good. Lisa, caring and showing that love and help for others. That's wonderful. Great listener. Thank you for sharing that. Great. So I want you may not have time, but at least get these questions down, right? Write these questions down because you're going to fill this out in your own time. And if you're some of the folks came back on the chat earlier and said, hey, well, I'm not really sure what to apply for. Well, use these traits and attributes in your skills and abilities and think about where would that work in a job? Where has it worked in the job? And if you're not sure, you could even go onto LinkedIn and search just on those skills and look at other people's profiles and see what they do and see where those, those words pop up and connect to them and ask them about what they do and say, hey, I would love to know what it is. Okay. Very good. Hi, Edinson. Thank you for joining from Colombia. Very good. Fantastic. And a certified welder and a waiter. Excellent. Leadership, listening, lifeguard. So I want you to also, going back to your skills and traits and attributes, where do you see those traits in employment? And you can go back to the things that you've done. And if you have a very clear progression, that should make sense. This should be an easy thing for you. But I want you to keep track of these attributes and skills because you're going to use that later. Okay? You're going to use that as your everyday affirmations. So you're going to list all the things that you're good at. And I want you to have them written down, or you can put them in your phone and do a voice recording and then listen to it. And listen to that every day. Also, you're going to use that in a power statement, your personal power statement, explaining your impact, okay? So, for example, for me, I help make the drugs that you take and your mom and your kids take safer. I do this by finding and hiring the best, most qualified medical monitors to review safety and outcomes of clinical trials. I have 11 years of professional recruiting experience, and I'm an expert sourcer, interviewer, and evaluator of talent, and a business partner in the medical monitoring department. Okay? How did that sound? Would you consider hiring me? You have to say it with conviction. You have to know that you're good, what you're good at. Awesome, thank you. That's the type of thing you want to put together. And I will actually, I can't copy and paste it from here, but I can put that in the chat if that's something you want to see. Thank you, Melissa. Okay, so what happens? Let's say you're doing all these things and you're just you got some bad feedback, or for whatever reason, you're having just a bad day and something really gets you discouraged, upset. Okay, how do you cope with that situation? Hey, we're all human. I don't care who you are, how good your life is. Sometimes life smacks you in the face and you have a bad moment. The thing is, you can't let that moment overtake you and let the negative self-talk take over. And it can, trust me, I know, I was the king of living in the spiral of negativity for quite a while. So I know what that's like, and it's self-destructive and it sucks, quite frankly. So here's what you can do to cope. So as we mentioned many times in life, we're overwhelmed, angry, sad, depressed, desperate, and your job search can certainly exacerbate that situation and make you feel even more. And the longer it goes, the worse it gets. And unfortunately, what that does to a lot of us, this danger is you feel paralyzed and keeps you from taking the action that you need to take, that you know you should take to get out of this, but you just don't want to. So either you live in this mental spiral or you self-medicate. You drink alcohol. You look at Netflix, watch shows for 10 hours. Yeah, that's a nice escape, but does it help you get a job? Absolutely not. So there is a solution, and it works. A good friend of mine kind of shared this with me, and I sort of made it my own version of this, and it absolutely works. So remember this, SPAM. I know it sounds kind of funny, but it's a mnemonic device. It helps you remember the code, SBAM, SPAM. We're going to go through each one of these individually. Okay, first of all, when you're feeling those feelings and it's happening, it's hitting you, and the negative self-talk is starting to happen, or you're just feeling anxious, angry, whatever it is, stop. Stop yourself. Just say, quit it. I'm not going to do that right now. Stop yourself. Next is become aware. Take that moment to take a deep breath. What's really happening? Understand and have awareness, okay? that you can't control people or many situations, and see the situation for what it is. Is the sky really falling? Is it really the end of the world? Or did someone just reject you in a way that really hurt? And it brought up these feelings of anxiety and maybe even triggered your autonomic system and gave you that adrenaline rush of fight or flight, right? So take a deep breath, become aware. If you can't control it, then you must accept it. Just accept the situation. Okay, they didn't pick me. All right, whatever. Well, they didn't realize how good I am. The heck with them. Accept what you can't control. Acknowledge that it happened dispassionately. Okay, that happened. And then, most important part, move on. Absolutely move on. Okay, you can control how you feel about something, and you can control how you react. You are in control of those things. It may not seem like it at the time, but if you follow these steps, and then you move on and you do something. As soon as you move on, take some type of action that's either going to make you feel better in a healthy way, whether it's taking a walk, having a conversation with a loved one, or getting something done. I'm going to apply to the next job. Or I'm going to go, you know what, I'm going to go learn something because it's going to help feed my mind. It's going to make me feel better. And then I can redirect and go back to my job search. Okay. Take massive action. Absolutely. Does it all make sense? What is, again, a question from Eugene. What is the time frame for moving through spam? Yeah, I would say it can vary. You know, it really depends upon, gosh, is it, you know, did a loved one die of COVID? I mean, you don't just go through the steps in 5 minutes. I mean, there's a grieving period. But if you're dealing with sort of the everyday sort of issues, you know, things that come up in your job search, because they can multiply, rejection, or getting to the black hole, not hearing back and looking at your emails and not seeing any things, those can trigger. So this should really happen really very quickly. Okay. When it's these things that you know that you can control. And if you're not, then, you know, there's something you need to do. Know that you are very capable. But if you're not able to get past this, then seek help. Absolutely. Because there's wonderful people out there who can help you conquer this. Make sense? Okay. Excellent. So review one more time. Spam. Stop your feelings. Just stop it when you feel that negative spiral before it starts looping out of control. Become aware, understand what the situation really is, accept it, and move on. All right. I'm going to unmute everybody for a moment and see if there's any other questions about mindset and getting your head straight before we move on to the next section.
I do, Greg. Melissa.
Hi.
Just hi, how you doing?
Good.
Just wondering if you would recommend tools, and just suggest it because it does help me, and I don't know if you think this might help, but I use things that help with mindset, like, or mindfulness, like Headspace, you know, like mindfulness meditation type thing, you know, different things that are going to help decrease the stress. Would you recommend those?
Absolutely recommend those. Meditation is not only a nice idea, it is scientifically proven to help you in your health, your physical health, and it also clears your head. And there's a million different ways to do meditation. If you look up one thing that I've used, and I think it's a great introduction to meditation if you've never used it before, it's called 10%. I'll type it in there to the chat, 10%. And it's an app for your cell phone. And it goes through, I think there's like 6 free videos. And this guy really helps you understand the proper steps of meditation. The rest you have to pay for. That's something you can choose to do or not to do. But it's a great introduction to doing that. And I think it really helps explain the value and really the mechanisms of meditation. And, you know, you don't have to, it's not necessarily a spiritual thing. It can be. If you're a spiritual person, you can put that into your practice and meditate on scripture or something spiritual, or you can just listen and quiet your mind. That's the most thing, is actually shutting your mind off. It's so hard to do these days.
Yeah,
right?
and redirecting yourself to. I was just going to mention, I don't know if it's still true, but there was for job seekers, folks laid off. Headspace did have a free year
Nice.
subscription. I don't know if it's still in place, but they did have it. If that's helpful for anyone.
Headspace.
Headspace?
Headspace, yeah. And even if they're not still doing it, you can do a trial of it to see if it's right for you, just to see if it might be helpful. But they're short. They're like 5 to 10 minutes, which is the reason I like it, because it's just something to redirect me and then get on, you know.
Right. And meditation doesn't have to be this 15, 20, 30-minute type of thing. If you are at that level, I think it's fantastic. It can really benefit your mind, emotions, and body. But even just 2 minutes. Now I've got this, see if I can show it to you or not, breathing app. I don't know if you can see that well. And this is on my Apple Watch. I didn't show it, sorry. But basically it shows you how to breathe. And it had this haptic feedback, and what it does is you can feel it vibrate when you're supposed to breathe in and out. And so anything that can give you those cues, breathing is the biggest part of this, because when you're anxious, your breathing and your heart rate will go up even if you're not aware of it. It's really important. There's a million different YouTube videos as well, and I've looked at a few of them that I've liked. There's also binaural. I'll type that in there. Binaural.
I was just going to mention too, Greg, that some of the Fitbits have a similar thing to your Apple Watch too, with a breathe.
Nice. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. So the binaural beats, basically you have to wear headphones and you do it. You can see it on YouTube, and there's other things you can download on your phone. What it does is it takes one frequency in one ear and a slightly different frequency here. And so your brain is trying to deal with that and manage it. And so it helps put your brain into a particular frequency. So whether you want to be in alpha, beta, theta, or delta waves, which are different levels of meditation. So that's enough about that. We want to keep on track, but thank you for your comments and feedback, Melissa. And I hope that's helpful. Definitely, if you're having trouble getting through the spam process on your own, use meditation, and meditation should be a daily practice, I think, anyway. It's very helpful. All right, I'm going to go back to muting, and we'll move on with the next. So we've talked a lot about the headspace, and maybe you're thinking, maybe you just came here for the strategy and tactics. Can we please get to that? Okay, so if you are ready for the tactics and the strategy, please type ready in the chat box. Let's move on. All right, good. I understand it's a lot, but I really think the headspace is really important to get through in the mindset. Fantastic. All right, well, thank you for bearing with me through all that. So first of all, let's talk about some of the mistakes that are really common that job seekers make and what we can do about it. I'm going to give you some very specific tactics on how to deal with it. So first of all, not having an 8 to 5 job search routine. Okay, routine is very important. We're going to talk about that. Not customizing your resume to the job description. If you don't do this, you may essentially be wasting your time and you won't know how many people are applying, only the recruiter knows. But in a pandemic, there's probably a lot of people. So in order to stand out, you need to customize to the job description. Sending a resume directly to a recruiter or a hiring manager via email or direct message without a cover statement. So just a resume. Well, what are you applying for? What is your impact? It doesn't have to be a long cover letter, just a cover statement, kind of like the personal power statement we said before, and relate it to the position, and that would be enough. Resume that lacks clear direction or is not ATS compliant. And there's a lot of, material out there about ATS compliant. I think, to be honest, it's a little bit over sensationalized, because as a corporate recruiter, there are times when I see some interesting looking resumes that get into our ATS just fine. Okay. So they're a little more robust than I think people give them credit for, but you want to keep it pretty simple and basic to be on the safe side, because there are going to be some ATSs that don't make sense and they mess up the job history and confuse the recruiters. LinkedIn profile is incomplete and lacks a summary. If they don't know what your impact is, you've got that about space we'll talk about. They don't have a good headline, they don't have a nice headshot, those types of things. The resume and LinkedIn profile are not aligned. Your LinkedIn profile should be very similar to your resume, and it should have a lot of the same keywords, should be very simple to follow. Now, the worst thing you can do is you have different dates in your resume than you do your LinkedIn profile. And sometimes recruiters look at that and then they get confused. What's the truth here? And that's not a good situation for you. An unfocused career strategy. So as an obvious example, if you're looking for a role in banking, you wouldn't want to send your resume to manufacturers, okay, if that's what you want. And it's that idea of just shotgunning it everywhere, hoping one is going to stick. That's not a great strategy. You're setting yourself up for a lot of rejection and wasted time. Unfocused networking. So just reaching out to anybody and everybody. Hey, I need a job. I need a job. Especially in this day and age, there's a lot of that going on. Having O&O in your, hashtag O&O, open to new opportunities in your LinkedIn profile is fine. But if you're looking for a job as an engineer, don't waste your time networking with psychologists, or just as a random example. Okay. No contact with recruiters. Always be following up. A lot of times, quite frankly, recruiters aren't going to get back to you. But if you reach out on LinkedIn, and do that quick power statement, hey, I applied to your position. This is where I have the impact. I think it'd be a great fit. Would love to talk to you about it. That's it. Simple, powerful, polite, quick, and then move on. And then also follow up with a voicemail. Do not nag them and harass them, but reminding them that you are there on a periodic basis is perfectly fine, and that can help you get noticed. All right. Not searching on LinkedIn Jobs or Indeed properly. So there are ways to search for positions. Hopefully you all know how to kind of search on Google, but there's ways of missing out on opportunities if you're not using the correct terminology. Not practicing CARL, context, action, result, learning technique for interviews, excuse me. So what that means is being really prepared for behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when you had a very difficult position to fill. What was the position? What'd you do? How'd you fix it? How'd you fill it? And so you'd want to explain, this is the situation. Well, I had this manager of process engineering. It was extremely difficult to fill. These are the actions that I took. This is the result. I did it in this amount of time. And this is what I learned about in the process, by the way. And that's a really powerful way of answering that question. Not researching the company pre-interview. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine. In certain situations, if I'm calling a candidate cold, I understand. I give a lot of people grace. But if you have a setup interview over a period of time and they have reasonable time to research and they have no idea what your company does, not a strong move. All right. Okay, regarding nagging a recruiter, what is a good time frame? Question from Justin Kerner. Great question. So I would say you apply for the position and you immediately, if you can find the recruiter, and I have some videos out there to show you how to do that, by the way, on my website. You send them that introduction. If you're, hi, Gregory, I'm a medical doctor in this, I'm an ophthalmologist and I have medical monitoring experience. I know I could be a great fit, would love to chat with you. Please contact me. I'd love to connect. Signed, John. That's something as simple as that. Don't expect to hear back because recruiters typically do not connect with candidates that are in the process. Okay, but you got your name out there, and you might know if you check to see who's looked at you if they have looked at your profile. That's kind of handy. You can do the same thing with hiring managers. Then I would also follow up within 24 hours with a phone message. Probably not going to get them by phone. If you do, great. Let them know, have your power statement ready, and leave that voice message or use it in live and ask for the interview. Hey, when can we interview? I'd love to have a conversation. Same thing with an email, but I would space it out in a day. Now, after you've done those three things, or at least two of those three things, you may not know their email. come back in a week. And I would say weekly is okay, and set yourself a schedule to get back to that recruiter. Hey, just checking in, kind of thing. Not more than that. And if you don't hear anything after the first 3 weeks, I would probably either just let it go at that point, because that's a long time. Or you would space it out a little bit further to continue that relationship. Patrick Kamal, I hope I'm saying that correctly, asked, how to identify genuine recruiters? Great question. Genuine. Now, let me ask you, Patrick, let me unmute for a second. When you say genuine recruiters, do you mean agency recruiters like headhunters, or do you mean corporate recruiters?
Um,
Do you know the difference?
Hello, thank you for the opportunity. What is happening currently is that there are so many people on LinkedIn who are purporting to be recruiting, and I've had quite a number of people reach out to me, and they are foreign in the long ads.
I see. Okay, now
Yeah,
that's a great question. So in the United States, we don't deal with this really as often because it's easier to sniff that out. But internationally, there's a lot of scammers out there, and they pretend to be representing a company, for example, and they get you all excited. I've heard this a number of times now, and they say, "Hey, apply for this job and come in." All right. Well, now in order to to come on, we need some type of application fee or processing fee or something like that. Never. That is a scam. Never give anybody any money. If someone sincerely wants to hire you, then that's the case. That's one. I mean, if you get that question, you know they're not genuine right away. You can. I don't know how you'll be able to do that online. Let me do some research on that, because I don't know if you can send me offline or in the chat an example of somebody of how that happens. And I will try and see if I can figure out if there's a way to suss that out online. There may or may not be. Thank you for that question. That's awesome. Greg Fratz asked about agency recruiters. Again, what I would do, I started out in agency, and there's a lot of fly-by-nighters and a lot of, they're almost like slick used car salesmen. They don't care about you. They only care about the clients they're paying, and they just want that commission. So one of the ways to figure that out is, hey, just look at them on LinkedIn. How long have they been doing it? How long have they been recruiting for their career? How long have they been with their company? And how long, if they have a lot of short hops, or they're just getting started, chances are they're probably not someone I'd want to partner with. I want someone who is very, very good, who is well trained, and most people aren't. I was lucky. I got trained by the best. I had a fantastic mentor who was one of the most ethical people I've known in my life. He sent me for a week of training, and then he mentored me in the right way. And he had that upside down pyramid in leadership where he's not at the top, he was at the bottom. We're the most important people, and he's there to support us. So, wow. So there's another room. Remember, a headhunter offered me an opportunity for a 100K job, and they were charging a fee. Now, they charge the employer a fee. That's who's supposed to pay that, not the candidate. Okay? It shouldn't work that way. Now, there's career coaches out there that will take money from you to help you get your resume together and work on strategy and those types of things. But it's really not about, it's crazy. It's really not about taking that kind of money, say, I'll place you somewhere and this is what it's going to cost, kind of thing. Agency recruiters, they get 20-25% of your annual salary from the employer if they select you. That's kind of how that works. And you can tell by the way the agency recruiter, how they talk to you, how quickly they respond, how much time they spend with you. Do they do any coaching, in terms of, let's say they want to actually present you. Are they really trying to prep you? Those are the ones that you want to partner with, the ones that actually show that they care. And the ones that have done it for a long time, there's two brands of those, to be honest. There's the ones that care, and then there's the ones that are relational, and then there's the ones who are transactional. And they're very good, and they're still okay to partner with, but they're not the people who I would love to do business with. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question, Greg? And Melissa Gaines, there's recruiters out there, float your resume to employers without your permission. Yep, that happens. Good. Awesome. Okay, so let's come back to the career seeker daily routine. And this is my version of it, all right? Take it, own it, make it your own, but make sure it's a work day. That's the most important thing. So first thing, and I'm just using 7 as a time, that's reasonable. It's not 5 a.m., it's not 9 a.m. So use what works for you, okay? So exercise is so important. I really can't overemphasize this enough because it affects your mindset, your attitude, your energy level, and of course your health. I know when I've exercised in the morning or not because of the way I feel. I have a lot more energy. It's easier to maintain a positive mindset. If I'm tired and feeling, kind of crummy, it's easy to go down the negative thought spiral. When you feel good, it's much easier to stay on top of things and to take any types of negativity that happens. So while you're doing your exercise, read your affirmations, okay? If you're walking, you can read them. You can record them on your phone very easily, and you can just listen to them. And so you want to start with something positive. You can also listen to any type of motivational, or if you're religious, sermons, or whatever makes you feel good. Those are the things that you need to do to start, and also re-listen to your personal power statement. So that's going to set the tone for your day. All right. So we talked about that. Read your affirmations, get up, get moving, get your body moving. It's good for you. Obviously, shower and breakfast. That's just to, plug it into your day. It actually can be easy to skip the shower. If you're just in your PJs and you're up, I'm like, yeah, I'll get to my job search. I don't really, I don't have to be anywhere. No one's looking at me. I don't have any interviews today. You really should do it. It's just going to help you feel like you're going and getting into the right routine, and you'll feel refreshed. Find a quiet place and silence your phone except for calls. These cell phones that are like, computers in our hands, they're a blessing and a curse, right? If you have a lot of interruptions, they can ding, ding, ding. If it's not essential, you don't need it. Some people say turn your phone off just so you can just focus on your job search, but and if it's good company recruiter, they'll leave a message and then you can call them back. But I would rather, if it's me, I'd rather take that call live, get the interview scheduled right then and there. So there's ways to silence it. There's ways to make it so it just flashes the light. So that way you're not even looking at the screen, but you don't miss the call. So that's what I would recommend. Okay, next, 30 minutes to respond to your emails, networking messages from recruiters, hiring managers, etc. Making sure that you're not missing anything. Hey, is there someone who's interested in introducing me to someone that I can talk to today? Or did someone actually, email rather than call to schedule an interview? So keep track of those things constantly. And going back to your phone, make sure your phone, double check. Make sure your voicemail is not full. I don't know how many times I've called a candidate to try and schedule an interview. I couldn't leave a message. All right, 9 o'clock, 60 minutes. This is where you dig in to your job search. Let's get it done early in the day. So you're going to LinkedIn Jobs or Indeed, Project Help You Grow, which is run by Ira Bowman, by the way, who's a great person to follow on LinkedIn. And you're really going after the positions that you've decided to attack that's going to fit your needs. The next 2 hours of your day, and this is where the rubber meets the road, is taking your resume, you're taking the job description, right? And you're going to now really, as you find those jobs before you apply to them, is you're going to match them up, and you're going to customize your resume as best you can. It's time consuming. I get it. It's a pain, and you feel like it's probably not going to get looked at anyway. But if you want a better chance of you being seen, you need to make sure not only do the keywords in the job description as they apply to you actually show up in your resume, but that they are very apparent and they're easy to find. If as a recruiter, I see those things that I'm really looking for in a candidate right away, I'm inspired to read further and contact that person and pick up the phone. It's also a litmus test. If there's like 5 things that they need and you only have 1 or 2 of them in their requirements, don't waste your time. just move on to one that is going to be a fit. They're not going to call you. All right, take a lunch, take an hour, take a mental break. Don't get stuck in streaming. Netflix is evil. They have like, what, 7 seconds in between shows now before they go into the next. And if it's like a 2-parter, well, you got to see part 2. And then before you know it, 3 hours has gone by. So just do something, maybe read, something light, just whatever you do, maybe set a timer and get back to it at 1 o'clock to the next. All right. So this is going to be, and this is more fun, right? A LinkedIn hour activity to enhance your visibility. So things like liking and commenting on posts, sharing posts that you think are really interesting and helpful, like comments of others. And so following people like, there's folks out there like myself and Bridget Hyacinth and Corey Warfield and Ira Bowman, Kirsty Bonner, who really want to help people and provide valuable content that people can sink their teeth into and help, whether it's going to make them feel better, to give them the encouragement they need, or giving some actual tactics that can help them go on. Now, what you want to do is set yourself a timer. LinkedIn is a time suck. You can spend 2 hours in a blink of an eye, it seems like. And I'm curious, go ahead and type in the chat box, who are some of your favorites? Who are the folks that when you want to go and get some inspiration or some information, who do you go to? Whose posts do you follow? You should be commenting on those in nice, a comment that is enhancing whatever the post is saying, or just something helpful, okay? Go ahead and post that in there. Oh, Rachel Druckenmiller, good. Keith Johnson, Amy Volas, Scott Leese, Brenda Miller, Jeff Young. All right, Susan, sorry you had to go. I know we are going long, and I appreciate, thanks for coming in. I'll send you the replay, okay, so you can get the rest of the information. Corey Warfield, awesome. Kirsty Bonner, yep. Those are good ones. Guys, I am going a little bit longer than expected, so give me a signal on the chat how much time you have left, because I want to be respectful of your time, but I do have some more content and more value to share with you. So if you're open, or if you got 20 minutes, okay, another 15 minutes, 30. I know we've been on a lot. All right, so I'm gonna speed it up, okay, until I get a job. Thanks, Greg. Okay, have to go, Lisa. I understand. I know I said an hour, and we're already at that hour, so I apologize for that. Okay. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock. So let's keep on moving. Let's truck through this. 1 hour skills improvement, LinkedIn learning, or other YouTube learning. These things are really helpful. It's going to make you feel better. It's going to give you that shot of dopamine because you're making progress, and that's going to want to make you do more. Then take a break, take a walk, get outside, refresh. And so the whole idea is this, to give you some balance so that your job search day isn't just a total bear. There's some fun in it. And then you want to dig into your interview prep, writing responses to those competency-based interview questions that we talked about before: context, action, results, learning. What was it? What did you do? What were the quantifiable results if you have them? What did you learn? Then focus networking with recruiters, hiring managers, and colleagues. Boom, that's it. Your day's over. You're free to just go about your day, okay? You don't have to go into the night and do it. You may feel like, oh, I've got to keep going. I don't have a job. But really, if you're spending a good 8 hours a day like this, you're going to be fine. And if you want to go back and check on some things and check your emails, great, do that. But don't burn yourself out, okay? It should be an 8-hour day because that's what you're normally used to. And that's your job until you find one. We thrive on structure. If you want a job, you need to have a strategy, discipline, determination. And I've always seen that effort and perseverance equals success. So just keep going. All right, so let's talk about resumes for a moment. Must contain proper keywords, as we had discussed. Customize to the job description. We talked about that. What I also recommend, I think this is really helpful, create a master CV, everything that you've ever done. And it's not something you'd ever send out, but it gives you a great template to now cut and paste to those job descriptions and move things around. If having a PMP is really important, boom. In the professional summary and the top headline and where you got your PMP and those types of things, make it pop. Okay. Obviously, proofread. There shouldn't be any mistakes in your resume. No grammatical errors, no spelling errors. I know folks who've actually thrown it in the trash because there's a misspelled word. Okay. If you want more on this, a deeper dive, you can get my book. You can just type in Stellar Resume Writing. Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at the chat and I don't know how to pronounce your name. Adedoyan. Emphasize to build my self-confidence to answer question confidently in the interview. Okay, great. We're going to get to interviews in a minute. But if you want to get my book, it's price of a cup of coffee. And we'll talk more about that in a minute. Interview, prepare, research the company. There's usually no excuse. I didn't have time. People say this. I don't have time to look it up. What does your company do? Well, you should know. Practice Carl. Again, where did it happen? As in, where in your job history? What were the circumstances? What did you do? What resources did you pull from? What were the quantifiable results? How much money, time saved, whatever it was? And what did you learn in the process? Sometimes things don't go so well, and that's a great time to show, hey, I overcame a certain situation. Write down your strengths and accomplishments. We talked about this earlier. Have your personal power statement. Be ready to recite that statement at a moment's notice, because you never know when the phone's going to ring. If you're in a phone interview, gosh, print out all the stuff. You can have cheat sheets. Why not? Print out the company overview. Have your resume on hand. Have the job description ready. Your pre-written answers to potential questions. And how do you find those? Well, look at the job description and just you see what's valuable to them. And they say, hey, this person must have ... Well, use that as a turn it around to a question. Tell me about a time when you solved this problem or you dealt with this situation, and be ready to answer that. That's going to be super relevant in terms of an interview. And that will really impress the interviewers. You want to take it to the next level? Sometimes companies don't have great websites. You want to take it to the next level, call up their customer service line and ask for questions about their products. And how long have you been in business? And they'll answer anything that they know, and that'll give you some more information on what the company's about. Okay. Build rapport. Very, 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 very key. What is rapport and how do you build it with the perfect stranger? It's having that comfort level, right? With the other person. So if you were in person, we would say handshake, but in this day and age, it's probably a smile and good eye contact. If you're video, sometimes there's still in-person interviews going on, even during the pandemic, because there's businesses that are essential. Adjust your approach to match or mirror the interview style. We'll talk about that. If you don't have rapport, it probably doesn't matter what your qualifications are, because they're going to not get a good feeling from you. And they're like, really qualified, but just don't see myself really working well with this person, or there's something about them I didn't like. And feelings are hard to articulate, so that's when they say, I just wasn't feeling it. So matching the interview style. If the interview's a fast talker, don't talk really slow. If they're a slow talker, don't talk overly fast. Try and match their cadence. Good eye contact, don't stare them down, but don't be looking around the room doing this type of thing either. I literally had a guy ask him a question. He was literally doing this while he was answering the question. What are you doing? It was really awkward. If the interview smiles a lot, smile back. But if they're more serious, just be more serious and professional, okay? If they're a little looser, you can be loose, but don't overdo it, even though they're making you feel really comfortable, because you might say something inappropriate. Match their posture. If they're relaxed, be relaxed. They're up, be up, okay? These are unconscious cues. And after a while, that person may think, man, I really like this person. I don't know what's about him. He's a good guy. And that's because subconsciously they feel like they're making me feel comfortable. I like being around this person. Does that make sense? If that all makes sense, go ahead and type yes in the chat. I want to make sure we're still tracking together here. Great. Awesome. Wonderful. Perfect. Okay. Moving on, LinkedIn profile. Have a quality professional profile pic. If you can't get a professional to help you, dress up. Do kind of like at the angle, sort of a good. That's how they tell you to do it. Have a decent backdrop. And then have someone take the picture, okay? Make it look really good, as best as you can, all right? No pictures or bad pictures are not great, okay? Here's some examples, some really bad pictures. Poor lighting, some type of party pic. Here's a guy who took a picture, but the aspect ratio is off. Here's a guy playing music. And even if you're a musician and you're trying to get music gigs, don't you want to see their face?
Hey,
Definitely. Hello? Go ahead. Okay, I'll continue on. If you have a question, go ahead and type something in the chat, and we can unmute and talk. Crazy eyes, whew, don't do the crazy eyes, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. What's good, what's not so good. Have an appropriate cover image that relates to what you do. That's the image that's behind your picture. I think that's also helpful. It's kind of a brand. It's a great opportunity to brand. Just make sure it's relevant and professional looking. There's a lot of things you can find. Pictures with pets of the family. That's a no. It's about you. You want to brand yourself. So Tiffany had a question. We'll pause for a quick second. Had interviewed with 10 people over 2 days. That's fantastic. How should I have engaged with them individually? Oh, that's a great question. So Tiffany, see if I can find you here. I'm going to unmute you. So was this a panel interview?
Yes, it was a panel interview, and it was over 2 days. It was 5 people each day. And it was kind of, you try to zoom in on somebody who's engaging back, but then it's like it's intimidating when they get to shooting all the separate questions, and some are engaged and some are not.
Yes. The pros and cons of the panel interview. From the corporate side, what's nice about it is all 4 or 5 people are seeing the same thing at the same time, but it's not a great candidate experience, and it's hard to develop rapport. In those situations, you just do the best you can. You know, be who you are, be confident, smile. If people aren't engaged, don't act unengaged, obviously. You just move on.
Right.
And do focus on the people who do seem engaged, and try and do that rapport building, that kind of mirroring sort of activity with those folks. And hopefully those will be your champions. And the people who are disengaged, you don't know why they're disengaged. Maybe they don't like you. Maybe they just don't like interviewing, and someone told them they had to be there. And so they just have to, you don't know. Don't read into it. Just try and focus in on those folks. Be extremely polite in all situations, and build the rapport with the folks that you can. And hopefully they will say, Tiffany was fantastic. We have to hire her.
Thank you so much. That's what I've been running into. And it's kind of, when you think everything went well, and then you don't get any kind of follow-up. It's like, did I do something to disengage one of the 10 people?
Right, exactly. And you know what? It's hard to. Here's the fact, Tiffany. You're not going to make all those 10 people happy. It's just
right.
You know, I just had a round of interviews. The project manager in regulatory affairs, and they had probably 7 or 8 individual one-on-ones, and not everybody said awesome, hire her.
Right.
But enough people did. And there's some people that said they're always nitpicking and they're finding something wrong. So you just do the best that you can. And if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Great. Make sure you follow up as best that you can with those folks with thank you notes and letters. And if you don't have their emails and not able to get them, send it to the recruiter or the people you do have and say, hey, please share this with the team. I was really grateful for their time. Make sure they know that.
Thank you.
You bet. So those you can do. You know, control what you can, and you know if they don't understand, they understand your value. Well, that's their problem. You know, and you probably, especially some things, it hurts to be rejected. But
Right.
you don't know what a blessing that might have been, because some places are horrible to work for, and I've been in a couple of those situations. It was nothing but stress, and it was terrible. So hang in there.
Thank you again.
Yeah. All right, so let's wrap up on LinkedIn. So have a good summary. The way I like to do it, and you can do it any way you want, just make sure there's plenty of spacing in between your thoughts. One big long paragraph, nobody's probably going to read that in today's short attention span world. So you want to have what you do. I'm an expert recruiter, sourcer, why it's important, and explain why. We help save lives. We make drugs safe for everybody, and having the right people there is very key to that. And how do I do it? Well, I am expert at Boolean sourcing on LinkedIn, and all those types of things, however it fits to you. And then make sure the keywords that fit your position and your industry show up somewhere in there. And there's a number of ways to do it. You can just kind of list out, here's my skills, industry terms. There's a lot of ways to do it, but keep it very readable and make sure the keywords are there, because corporate recruiters are using a product called LinkedIn Recruiter to find people, and they do a keyword search to find them. Make sure they're there. Great. Question, can one can prepare top 15 to 20 expected questions and then try practicing them, improvise them. Awesome. Use storytelling. That's great feedback. Angadeep, wonderful. Monty, is the following true? Must be able to adapt and change easily. No, for someone who panics in the face of uncertainty. For someone, for bureaucrats, might be such a plus to be able to adapt. I think, the ability to adapt obviously is something, and sometimes you can see red flags in the interview questions, right? When they ask you, how do you deal with stress, or how do you deal with change, how do you deal with conflict? That could mean there's a lot of conflict in the culture. All right. Your LinkedIn should mimic your resume. We talked about that. Keywords, we talked about that. Good headline. Okay. Don't say, hey, I just moved from Canada looking for a job. That does not send the right message. Even if you're unemployed, don't say unemployed. You put in your headline the job titles that you qualified for and that you want. Okay? Technical recruiter, recruiting manager, whatever it is. Okay? Account manager, executive sales, whatever those things are for you. Make sure those things stand out. You have 220 characters. Use them well. Okay. Networking. If you're not networking, you're not working. Really, this is something you do every day. LinkedIn is a great and easy way to start. Keep it real, keep it authentic, but keep it professional as well. This should evolve into phone calls and meetings. We can't do the coffee lunch thing so much these days, but networking, you never know where a conversation can take you. But you do want to be focused with people who are in your industry, people who are doing what you want to do, and try to network with hiring managers, and kind of stroke their ego a little bit. Hey, I see that you've accomplished, you're a vice president, that's outstanding. You've done this and this in your career. I would love to learn from you. Some will blow you off, but some people may actually say, hey, oh, that's great. I would love to help you. Here's what you should do. So try that. All right. So we're getting to the end here, and sorry I had to kind of move quickly at the end because we've gone over time. Really know yourself. Know what you're good at. Be able to articulate that. Be able to share that with the world. Read the list you created every day. It's become part of your psyche, and it'll also help you be more powerful from a confidence standpoint and a mindset standpoint. Develop a job searching strategy and routine. It could be that daily routine I listed out. It could be something different, but do what works for you. Put in your time every day and keep it and repeat it, and you will find success. Develop your resume, interviewing, networking skills. Continue to develop yourself. If you feel like you're growing, either growing or dying, and there's no third direction. If you're growing, you feel like you're accomplishing something. Progress equals happiness, okay? Even a little bit of progress can make a difference. Okay, I'm gonna open it up for Q&A in just a moment. But if you found value in this, I'm gonna send you a link. I'm gonna put a link into the survey. I'm also gonna put a link, email it to you. That's a quick survey to help me understand what's the best content. I would love it if you would be so kind to leave me a recommendation on LinkedIn. That would make me very happy if you found value with this. And then there's careerjetpack.com as well. And I'm going to show you, get out of this. This is my website. some people that I've helped, it talks about my book, but let's talk about, there's articles that you can get to. So I'm trying to basically find a central place to put all the things that I've been posting on LinkedIn all this time to help you. And then also have a number of videos as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put all this information in the chat real quick so you guys can easily access it and get to links to my book, to my social media, to the survey. I'm going to make the survey stand out a little bit more. I'm going to send that one more time. I want to thank you very much for your time. You took your valuable time. I know we went over. I apologize for that. But I think there are some things that came up. So everyone's unmuted or has the ability to be unmuted. I would like for you to go ahead and pose any questions that you have for me right now.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this resourceful session. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Awesome. You're so welcome. And I'm going to put my headphones on real quick because my audio on my computer is really low. I have a hard time hearing folks.
Thank you, Gregory. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, Mark.
Thank you
Good to see you.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This has been very helpful.
Awesome. Awesome. Glad it was good. Does anyone have any other questions that I hadn't answered yet?
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, you probably mentioned it, but I forgot as you where can I get your book?
Yes. So it is, I'll repost that. Basically, there's two ways to find it. You can go to my landing page, which is stellarresumewriting.com, and that will lead to a description of the book and a link to the Amazon. Or you can go to Amazon directly and just type in Stellar Resume Writing, and that'll lead you to the book. I have a paperback version, which looks like this right here. And I also have digital version about the price of a cup of coffee, really. And there's some good
Perfect.
examples and information in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gregory. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate the time and the effort you put into this.
Absolutely. And if
All right.
anybody on this call would like a free personal 10 minutes career tune-up, let me find the link for that, and I will also post that in there for you, if that's something you'd like to do. Because I also help people, if you want to take it to the next level and have me, help you with your resume personally, I have some services. One of the cool services that I've done in the past that it's kind of fun is I'll take your resume and I'll set up a Zoom call and I will edit it live and record it for you, even if you can't be there, and send it to you. So not only to get the edits in your document that you can make changes on, but you'll get to hear the narrative and sort of understand what I was thinking. And so it adds a little bit more life than just to the text itself. Grab this. Okay, so this is the link for the free career tune-up. You can jump in there as well. I'll be supplying everybody with a replay of this webinar as soon as I can get it loaded up to my YouTube site. And you can see I also posted my other social media, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. Again, if you would like to, please fill out the survey. And if you'd be so kind, if you found value, to leave me a recommendation on LinkedIn, that would be awesome. Any other questions that I didn't cover or wasn't able to fully answer?
Hello there.
Hi, Samson.
Yes, please. My question now is it possible for a person not to be able to determine the area he or she is fit for in the career world?
Sure. I think some or all of us have struggled with that exact thing, or to some degree of that thing, at some period in their lives. So, what can I do? What can I offer? So there's a couple things that you can do. One is go back to that list of things that you're good at,
Okay.
your traits, things that your skills and abilities, and your traits and attributes. So kind of who you are as a person, and you can use Google. You can go to LinkedIn and start putting in some of those terms and start to see what comes up, what patterns develop, what types of jobs pop up. How does that make you feel? Okay. Share the list with a person. Say, hey, what job do you see me in? And then do some research on that and see if that's something that you think you would enjoy or it seems to fit, and start looking into pursuing that. And if you don't feel like you have the skills for that, go to LinkedIn Learning, go to YouTube, and see what you can do. There's things for free that you can do to really enhance your abilities and start to build your confidence in a particular area.
All right. Thank you very much for that.
Absolutely. Another way to do it is, and I learned this from Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. I'll write that in the chat. It's a great book if you're able to get to that. Hang on a second. Get to my chat. There we go. Find Your Why by Simon Sinek. And another way to go about it is to really look at what's important to you, and you go through your history of the biggest moments in your life. What made you, how did they impact you? How did it make you feel? It kind of shapes what's important to you, and write down as much detail as you can, and then share that with someone who you trust to help to pull out what Simon calls the golden thread, what kind of connects all those things together. And as you go through this process and write it down and talk through it, you'll start to see some commonalities.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes. Thank you very much.
Oh, great. Oh, that's weird. It says from me. Someone signed in as me. Wow, it's my alter ego. I don't know about in the U.S., but in British Columbia. Who posted that, by the way? Can you tell me your name? Or is there another Gregory Austin out there? Number of libraries provide access. Yes, libraries are amazing. Free on lynda.com. That's a great. There's so much you can get free on through your library system. Check with that as well. You can get. See, lynda.com is now part of LinkedIn Learning. Hi, Frederica. Thank you. I don't know how that happened either, how you turned into me, but that's okay. Just glad you're here. And like if you want to learn a new language, for example, you could get free access to, what is that, Rosetta Stone? So there's all sorts of opportunities. Connect with your library, and sometimes those electronic opportunities through your library can be accessed from your home computer, can be accessed from your phone apps like Rosetta Stone or some other type of thing. So that's a great, good. Thank you, Frederica. That's a great feedback. Thank you so much for that. Awesome. Anything else? Ask me anything you want, and I'll answer you candidly in the best way I can. Monty just commented, must be able to learn quickly. Like, who would prefer to learn slowly? Yeah, no, I think there's so much corporate speak out there. I think that's because they don't have any other way of saying, you know how you can interpret that, Monty? We don't want to train you. So you better come in without any training, hit the ground running, and figure it out and be successful. So that could be a potential yellow or red flag. Any other questions? Wow. That's sad and true, Monty. Okay. Anyone else want to ask me anything, or just any other comments or anything you want to share with the group? All right. Well, one thing you can do, I'll give you a couple minutes to do this. If you found there's some information that you saw on the chat, you can actually go to the chats, and I think you can click on the 3 dots at the bottom, and you can save the chat. So that way you can save all that information to your desktop. There might be some valuable information in there for you that you want to go back to, or some of the links that you weren't able to copy or jot down. I'll give you a few minutes before we sign off in order to do just that. And just, I just want to thank everyone for being here. I mean, we have literally people from all over the world in different time zones, and it's such a pleasure to be able to reach so many different people at once. Monty says, I thought electrical engineering was high in demand. That actually brings up an interesting question. I'll address that. How do you know if the job market is good in any particular area? And the very easy answer to that question, you probably already know, is you do searches on LinkedIn jobs and Indeed jobs, especially Indeed because they're an aggregator of all sorts of information, of job posts. And you see how many job posts come up for electrical engineers in your city. And if there's a lot, it's a good job market. If it's not, it's not. And the job market is very much like the stock market. It's volatile. It changes on a daily basis, and it can be really great in Kansas City and really terrible in Miami, Florida. It can be, you know, great in LA and terrible in Lagos, Nigeria, for example. So it's hard to tell. And I have to have these conversations with hiring managers because they say, hey, why aren't we getting candidates for this position? It's like, well, this is what the market is at this particular time. And it's going to keep on changing. So, and if there's not a good job market for electrical engineers, Monty, then that's the time to start thinking, okay, how else can I apply these skills into different creative areas? And it may mean, you know, doing something differently for a little while to take a small detour, and then keep looking for electrical engineer positions or whatever it is that you want to do. Yeah, that when you got to take a position that low, that stinks. But it's still, it shows a lot of character to do what you have to do rather than sitting at home. Any other questions? So hopefully everyone's had a chance to save the chat if there's something. Bogendra, did you have a question? I see your hand is raised. Okay, guys, thank you, and gals, thank you so much for being here. And to Miko, I'll answer that privately, but thank you. You're free to go, and I will, when I get this, probably take me a couple days to get this loaded up and ready to share, but then I'll send the link to you so you can also watch the replay at your leisure. And thank you so much. Take care. Good luck. And please continue to follow and let me know how I can help. And don't forget to take that survey. Oop. I meant to do that to everyone. Sorry, Tamiko. Tamiko, did you want me to answer that question privately or for everyone? Okay. Well, you can follow up, Tamiko, if you want. Grab 10 minutes on my calendar, and we can talk privately. So again, take care, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Take care. Good luck. God bless. Thanks, Fixie.